Cherylanne, welcome to Alive and Well. So good to have you with us today.
I am so happy to be here. What a great name for your show.
Thank you. We were just talking about it. So you guys, I was actually just on Cheryl podcast, so we will link that for you both below, so you guys can go check it out because just from what I know of her and what she teaches, there's so many of you listening who are really like, this is kind of an expansion of what you're learning about your nervous system and how does it look in the day to day, right? So I'm really excited to talk about this. And I know you've guided so many women from a place of you like build the empire, right? And then you sit at the top and you're like, whoa, is this it? Right. And I've had that kind of experience where I'm like, man, I've checked off all the boxes and I've done all the things. And then I just like feel stuck here. I'm miserable. Or then that brings on like a shame and a guilt. Cause I'm like, man, everything's so good. Like, why am I feeling like this?
Mhm.
And I kind of am just curious if you might share that story for you. Like, was there a point where you're like, man, I'm missing something, or there was like a pivot point or something that you were seeing consistently where you're like, I'm going to step in here and actually do some work in this space?
Sure. I think I am not one of the people on the internet who has like a breakdown story. And sometimes I feel like shame about that. Like I'm supposed to have my rock bottom moment. I think I had more of a quiet realization that I was climbing a ladder that was leaning against the wrong wall. That's
Ooh,
more what it felt like
wow.
to me.
Yeah.
So my early kind of professional story is I graduated from an Ivy League university. I went and got an MBA. I went to work for a Fortune 50 company. And I just dutifully took the next step, climbing the ladder. And I was like pretty sure I would be CEO of that company. Not really, right? But like in the
Yeah.
back of my mind was like, well, I mean, at some point, what's inevitable?
Yeah.
And I just really thought I would retire from that organization and just continue to have the bigger and bigger job. And I was about 15 years into that career when I like stopped and took a breath and thought, oh my God, I have been running hardcore since I was probably 13 years old
Wow.
in like a race to what might end up being nowhere. Like,
Wow.
this is not what I want my greatest accomplishments to be. This is not the
Yeah.
legacy that I want my name
How old are
attached.
your kids at this point?
So at the time that I left, they were like 5, 2, and in utero. Yeah,
Wow.
so they were
Wow.
little.
Yeah.
And I literally, like, I left pregnant with my third. I didn't know that. I resigned and then found out I was pregnant with my third. So that first year that I was out, I gave birth to a baby and I gave birth to my first company. And I think I gave birth to myself in some ways. Like it was really a place where I started this next chapter where my family was complete
Mm.
and I was going to move from having children to raising children. And I was going to move from climbing this ladder to really building something from the ground up. I just jumped off the
Yeah.
ladder and started over. And I started my first business that I now refer to as my starter business. And then that eventually evolved into the business that I have today. So Brilliant Balance has been in existence roughly 10 years, a little more than 10 years. I had about 5 in the first business. And I fundamentally believe this is the work I'm meant to do because it is rooted in my experience,
Mhm.
my kind of lived experiences, which is what I believe leads to wisdom,
Yeah.
deeply rooted in my talents and skills and like kind of my core competencies that, whether I was born with them or built them, like they're mine,
Yeah.
and my interest. Like my passion, my
Mhm.
interest, I could talk about these kinds of things all day long with this particular audience of women. And so this is like, I'm really doing the thing that I'm meant to do at this point.
That is so cool. And I'm so grateful you shared it because, well, I just closed my law firm like 6 months ago. So that
Okay.
was like a huge thing and a shift. And I come across women who are listeners of the show or in my programs every day who are like, I'm done. Like, I don't even know. Right. And their kids are in that age. It's like, they're starting school and things are shifting. And I don't know what's happening in our own lives or bodies, but there's just this look in the mirror like, whoa, is this really what we're doing for the next, I don't know, 30 years or what have you? Can you tell me a little bit about that decision for you to leave and start something new? Is it something that you like kind of struggled with or battled? Is it something that you were so decisive and you're like, I'm done, and then just like boldly took the leap and built? Like, what did it look like?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
My recollection of it, and I have all the journals from that time period. It's really interesting. There was something almost providential happening because I left officially at the end of a calendar year. But in the summer of that year was when I became very sure that I was going to leave and actually like announced my departure.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had this knowingness, like this very clear nudge of like, this is just not it. It's, again, I was not yet pregnant with that third kid. It was like, this is just no longer it. This has run its course. In some ways, Michelle, I've heard people talk about divorce this way, where they're able to like say, God, that was good, but it's over, you know? And like, this was like my professional divorce. Like it was good. It was so good. I have nothing bad to say about the company or my time there. I truly loved it.
Yeah.
It was just very clear to me that it was over. And so a couple of things pragmatically that made it, possible were I had taken year-long maternity leaves with my first two children. And because I had always known I was probably going to want to take really long maternity leaves, only a short part of which was paid, most of it was unpaid.
Yeah.
We had already kind of figured out how to live not needing 100% of both of our incomes.
Wow.
And that risk aversion or, you know, that kind of saving mentality that I was just raised with and it was in my DNA definitely was an enabler. And I never want to skip over that in the story because much like you, I have a lot of women in my audience who would love to leave their jobs and they're like, I can't because we need every dollar that is coming in. And I usually am starting with like, what can you do to unwind from some of those financial commitments so that, you know, we started that way and I feel lucky, but if you didn't, you often can make some shifts that allow you to have more possibilities and more freedom. And that was a big enabler. I don't want to skip past that.
Yeah.
That really made it possible. I think the other, it was still hard. It was a complete shock to most people who knew me because I was dubbed as a high potential candidate. I was climbing the ladder, like I was going places and I had a very high income and great benefits and all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And so to just kind of walk away without a package and say, I'm just done. I still sometimes kind of go, did I really do that?
It's so bold.
Yeah. And I do often also coach women, like probably good to figure out what the glide path is going to look like back toward an income. I mean, I took my income to zero and started over. Yeah. But you don't have to do it that way. It's what I did.
Yeah, that's right. It's just so good to hear the stories, right, of how different women do it. Because there's so many paths to creating a life that feels so much more sustainable. Let's kind of talk about that for a moment, because I think so often when we are either in a season or if like that's just how it's been as long as we can remember of achieving and chasing and building and all the things, I think we have to wear blinders a little bit, right, to be able to achieve that. And I think we're walking in a lot of, maybe we're just like not aware of what the costs are to that, or what are we actually missing, where we get to the point where we're like, whoa, what's going on here? It's time for me to pivot or reevaluate. What are some of the things that you think, or that you tend to see that are the cost, right? Or what are people missing or sacrificing when it comes to what they're trying to build that leaves them feeling unfulfilled?
So it's interesting how often lack of fulfillment comes up. Like you got there, that's like the key marker. When people say like, there has to be something more, or I don't think this is it. What they're often putting their finger on, if that's the way they're expressing it, is there's something out of alignment, right? What I'm getting back from doing this might be just financial. And I'm not getting what I refer to as divine compensation. Like, what is your intrinsic reward that's coming back to you that's like, because I'm supposed to be doing this, it like feels good, right? You can leave with a sense of like purpose and meaning and contribution, all that stuff that we instinctively want. Yeah. So that when we're leaving that on the table in the name of monetary compensation or good benefits or a short commute or childcare on site or whatever the things are.
Yeah.
I refer to that as a Goldilocks job because we're getting a lot of the like, well, you know, like how she's running around going, well, this is too hot and this is too cold. Like every other job we look at, we're like, well, it doesn't have this thing that I'm super attached to in my current job. And we keep trying to like replace all of those bells and whistles that aren't the guts of the job. They're like these little perks that are keeping us there.
Yeah.
That's the stuff we're leaving on the table. We're leaving the meaning on the table. Okay. The second thing that I think happens though, that often with the women I work with, and we were talking about burnout in our last conversation, if you're on a path to burnout, often it's that there's so much time and energy going into this work. It's taking so much out of you that you don't have enough time for the other things that actually kind of make your life worth living, right? I refer to it as like the freedom to enjoy the life you've built. So if you are so busy making a living and so much of your time and energy is going to getting that paycheck that there's no time to live the life, right? And you have a pool in the backyard, but you're never in it, or you have the club membership, but you never go, or you have the great car, but you never drive it. Like, if you don't have time to really like live the life and have a freedom to kind of create space for yourself, that's what we're leaving on the table. So I think there's two answers depending on what path are you on. Are you on like balance is okay, but it's not very fulfilling? Or are you on, I have no balance. It's all work and caregiving and tasks I have to do. And there's no time to actually enjoy my life.
Yes. And I feel like I want to talk about it because balance, just the word is in, right? It's like across your
triggering,
brand.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And like, let's talk about it because I think it can be triggering because I think it feels like this mountain with no peak or this like thing we're chasing that we can't catch. And then that just brings on a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I'm just not doing it right, or I'm not cut out for this, or what have you. So someone who's listening who can like relate to the story, right? And they're like, yeah, that's me. I'm there. I see it. I've tried the things. Like I've tried putting boundaries around when my workday ends. I've tried like, what have you. What's like an actual effective starting point that's like going to set you up to build upon? Because I think sometimes we're grasping at like all these little, hacks or habits. And it's like, whoa, where do we need to start?
So it's such a good question. And let me take a half step back and just address the word balance so that people don't shut down. I think, I named this company Brilliant Balance a long time ago, and I might not do that again if I had it to do over, only because the word is so polarizing. But what I would say is my definition of balance, and this seems to really resonate with a lot of women once we unpack it this way, is kind of a dynamic balance. So if you think about things that have to stay in balance, like a ballerina, and ballerinas are my favorite analogy for this.
Yeah.
Misty Copeland, when she was dancing with the American Ballet, like is in balance. She's upright. She has a strong core. There's this sense of like grace and strength but she's not static. There's nothing like a pie chart or balanced scales where you like set it and then don't touch it because it's going to fall out of balance if everything's going to fall apart. Yep. This ability to stay in balance and bring yourself back to balance and find your sense of balance is more what I'm attracted to when I say brilliant balance. So to me, we are never going to have perfect balance that will just stay there. Yeah. We have to be able to find our way back to it and like land the pose, right? From moment to moment in the day. So that metaphor, I think, works better for women like us who are like, I'm not into standing still. I'm not into like, I can only have as many things as I can make time for every day, right? It's going to change every day, but can you find your way back to it is kind of the idea. So practically speaking, I think you have to know what you want more of and what you want less of. I don't know, Michelle, for you, if you would say like in a week or a month or a season where your life feels out of balance, right? You probably are like, there's too much stuff I have to do and not enough stuff I want to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would be something that you might want more of in one of those seasons?
I would probably want more time outside.
Okay. So let's just take that as an example. So if you're like, I want time outside and I can't do it, right? I'm looking at my life and I'm like, well, it's not going to happen. I'm sitting on podcast interviews. I'm in meetings. I'm commuting. I'm doing whatever the things are. Yeah. The only way you're going to get more of that is to get less of something else. Like this really is a zero-sum game unless
Yeah.
sometimes we can break the space-time continuum with a little bit of 2 for 1, but like it's rare. So for the
Yeah.
most part, if you want more of that, you have to have less of something else. All right.
Yeah.
So that's where we start. What can you get less of? And there's a 3 kind of part model here that I teach all the time. Just like, what can you stop doing altogether?
Okay.
Like no one else is going to do it. It's just not going to get done. It's like junk mail, right?
Yeah.
You can pick up a piece of junk mail and just throw it in the garbage. So there are some things on your to-do list or your calendar that you can just literally delete and nothing is going to happen. Okay. Stop doing this. Outsourcing, which you can think of this as delegating, meaning somebody can do it for free, or outsourcing, meaning I'm going to pay somebody to do it.
Right.
Right? You mentioned Instacart was going to be there any minute when we started this call. That's a great example of I'm going to outsource groceries so that I don't have to take the time to get in my car, drive to the store, park, go inside, navigate the store, put the stuff in my cart, go through the checkout, get back in my car, load them there, drive home, unload them again. Like think about all the steps. And you have instinctively been like, I will pay somebody to bring those to my doorstep, right? Yep. And then the third one is simplify, which is there a way that can I be less perfectionistic or less like thorough in the way that I'm about to do this task? So I think I work with a lot of high achieving, overachieving, perfectionistic type A kind of women.
Yep.
We overdo everything. Yep. I mean, everything. So I promise you that there are 100 things on your list this week that the meeting can be shorter, the document can be less perfect, the bed doesn't have to get made with hospital corners or whatever the thing is, right? So you can just shave time with those 3 strategies. And so in our coaching programs, I call it running an SOS. Like, look, you got to run an SOS on this. Just take a look at this day or this week. And then the level of rigor with which you run that is dependent on how much time you're trying to free up. So if it's a really tough season, you got to be really aggressive. If it's not, you might not have to be that aggressive. Okay. And there's a second half of that model that we can talk about another time, but like the half about less, like what am I going to do less of is really driven by that SOS. And then you repurpose into the things that you want more of. So you get to go outside.
That's so good. It's so good. And there's so much, I think, even I would imagine for us to like work through even in getting to a place where we can feel safe enough to do that, right? It's like our control issues and the perfectionism, like all of
yes,
those
ma'am.
have to come up and for us to like actually take a look at, honestly.
And you know, honestly, that's what coaching's for.
That's what,
so like if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. The reality is that is the model. That is the simplest version of like what we have to do. And it's so hard because we have to grapple with all the fears and feelings that come up when we think about executing it, right? Yeah. When we think about the guilt or the FOMO or the judgment or giving up control, like those are the blockers to having that balance. And so we have to figure out like how to grapple with those things. Yeah. And I think a lot of people struggle to do it alone, which is why they throw their hands up and say, well, balance is impossible. Yeah. Right? Because they stop at that first resistance. And you really, this is why coaching matters, because you can have some support in working through those emotions that come up.
Yeah, for sure. As we're talking about like balance and polarity, and I think this like sense of overachieving that a lot of us have, or just being the ones who like get all the things done, or I just like push through it, or, you know, give me all the structure. We had talked before we hit record about balance as it relates to our own feminine and masculine energetics. And I think, at least I'll speak for myself, like high school, undergrad, law school, working for a large law firm, running my own practice for 11 years. So in my masculine, so comfortable in my masculine, right? Sure. Even that polarity in my marriage, like I started to notice the dynamic, like my husband, especially initially, like he's like a poet and he was writing a book and he, you know, like he's so beautifully expressive and all these different things. And I just didn't have the awareness. I didn't know what was going on as it relates to polarity. But holy moly, did I want to do all the things and be the boss and have the plan and pay the bills and what have you. And then if you had asked me like, well, how tired are you? How badly do you just want to be held? How like annoyed are you that you're the one that has to manage everything, but you're the one who wants to manage everything, right? And I wonder if you could talk to that a little bit, because I have a feeling this most of our audience listening can relate. You work with women who probably run in that space. I'm assuming you did for a while too, but like, what does it actually mean, I think, for there to be a balance in polarity? And then for those of us who are feeling like, man, I'm so tired from doing it all, how do we find the place to like soften into our feminine and rework what that actually means and feels like to us?
I mean, I think we can scratch the surface of this topic
Yeah.
and see where it leads us. And I would love your thoughts on this as well. I think everything you described about your early adulthood is highly relatable to me. I think that is how most women achieve success in characteristically masculine environments, right? So whether you're working in the Fortune 50 or you're working in a law firm or you're at university, I mean, it is a masculine energy environment. And so I think we either adapted or lucked into being born with like a particular collection of attributes that allowed us to be successful in those traditionally masculine environments, right?
Sure.
So table stakes. And I think our peers who didn't have that, who came in with more overdeveloped feminine energy or traditionally developed feminine energy, struggled because they got called not confident, they got called not decisive, not organized, like all like that became positioned as like negative characteristics. And of course, what I think we know to be true is that the very best leaders and the most effective kind of humans know how to blend these two elements, the both sides of themselves. And I'm talking about men and women, right? Who know how to lean into the masculine and feminine energy that they possess to be a fully embodied human.
Yeah.
So if you are in a marriage or a romantic relationship where your masculine energy is on overdrive all the time, even at home, you probably are partnered with a man or a woman who is more traditionally in their feminine energy, right? Because we used to say opposites attract. You're using polarity, so we'll be fancy now. But like that idea of like opposites attract is rooted in that, right? And again, in most relationships, you would have, again, I'm saying like air quotes, you can't see me, but I think old school, we were like, well, women are traditionally in their feminine energy, men are traditionally in their masculine energy. And you're right. My audience, I would say, I thought about this because I did a keynote on it that I developed last year. And I think in the room that I was delivering it, my going in supposition was most of these people are going to be overdeveloped in the masculine. And it turns out it was more split than I thought.
Oh, interesting.
But the struggles were different. So if you had someone who was really like presenting as someone where their feminine energy was translating into their leadership style, it was translating into how they ran their household, it was translating into kind of all the facets of their life, they had different challenges and issues than the women who were kind of cross-typed and were traditionally masculine. And so what I found is I had to teach from both sides and really teach how do you create balance. So it's the talk started like, I'm going to talk about how to soften your masculine and build your feminine. And then I was like, oh, that's only half the room. Right. So I do think it really is about knowing what is the difference, what are the characteristics. And you mentioned a lot of them, like being very structured, being kind of top down hierarchical, being decisive, not wanting to waste time, being very efficient, right? Not wanting to waste time on relationships. And then you take the converse and you're like, these are consensus building women, or the feminine energy is consensus building. It is central, like a circle model versus a hierarchy pyramid model. It is so not that they're indecisive, but they want everyone's buy-in. There's a lot of like focus on the relationship versus the outcome. And we want both, right? We want the contemplative parts of us to balance the decisive kind of hard charging parts of us. So I think there's a lot to dance with there, but knowing how exhausting it can be to whether you are male or female, by the way, to stay in that masculine energy all the time and never be able to receive, accept help, get input from other people, let go of stuff. You said like be held, which is a great visual metaphor for this,
Yeah.
right? Just have somebody taking care of you,
Mm-hmm.
including if that means like, hey, they'll figure out what to make for dinner tonight.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that's, I think, really hard for a lot of women who have been, I'm going to call them women who've been conditioned and rewarded for
Yes.
staying in their masculine.
Okay, this is so good. And I'm just like thinking of it more in the relationship dynamic, even in my marriage. But what was so fascinating to watch is like I shared this awareness with my husband, right? And then what was so cool is without me, I just shared my own experience as I was like navigating, trying to shift and have more balance even within myself and both these energies. And it was so cool because we talk about polarity, but as he started to notice in and of himself, right, what where his tendencies lied, and then started to actually show up more in the masculine energy. So to take initiative or to start to like plan stuff or be more in the do energy than the be energy, or more of the go than the flow, or what have you. That actually opened up the space where I could then soften into my feminine. And I wonder, I'm very curious about this keynote that you gave, and for people listening, like for if you're in that space, in a workspace in particular, where it's just like so the masculine energy is like, you can feel it when you walk into a room. How is it okay or safe to like start to explore that other side, right? Because I think when we talk about balance, it's
There's
not just in like our
fear.
schedule. Yeah, there's so much fear. Like, wait, all of a sudden, if
Well,
I'm
because you
not,
think no one's going to step in. Like, we kind
yeah,
of got told if it is to be, it's up to me, right? Like, so the story we're telling ourselves is if I don't do this, it's not going to get done.
yeah,
If I don't make the decision, if I don't have the plan, if I don't take care of it, and we walk around, I think like it's a badge of honor, very
mm-hmm.
prideful about like, I'm the only one who can do this. And
Yeah,
so there, I think the resistance is in fear
yeah,
at home. If I don't do it, it's not going
well,
to get done, right?
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
have the
you said
belief
that
that
all
what
the
happened
time.
in your household will happen, which is if I stand down, he'll step up.
Yep,
That's hard to trust. And I think in the
yeah,
workplace, we think if all of my accolades are coming from being the get it done girl, then
yeah,
what's going to happen when I'm not the one getting it done? Like, is
yeah,
my whole reputation is staked on this?
yeah,
Then how can I safely acknowledge that there has to be some time where I'm not the person who's in charge of everything? And I think we got to
yeah.
really grapple with how do you lower the stakes on the early experiments in that so that it's
Hmm,
safe to run them and
that's
you
good.
can build trust
Yeah,
that then you can take bigger steps, right? But I think you got to lower the stakes on the early attempts
yeah,
until you can convince yourself you can survive a negative outcome if there is one.
for sure. Right, you're like almost titrating your
Mm-hmm.
exposure
Yes.
to what
Yes.
might happen. Yeah, and I think that's so wise. That's so good. I want to like. I don't know. This was like me leading from a place of curiosity, and I think it's so fascinating to talk about this. But can I bring it a little more, and maybe not even more practical, but for people listening, um, you've done it, right? You've done like working out of the house, this career, all the things, and then also managing home, and then now with the work that you're doing. And I wonder if you might be able to share some of the systems or routines or strategies that someone listening could start to put into place today to really start to feel more balanced, as we described it, Misty Copeland balanced.
Yeah, it's more of a sense of being in balance.
Yeah.
Sure. So in practically speaking, like within my home life or my work life, what are a couple of things? Absolutely. I think for me, and again, I always have a disclaimer that like, look, what works for me is what works for me, and I will share from that. I
Yep.
also have the benefit of having coached women for more than a decade in this. And so I do know a little bit of like what's worked for lots of people. So I can say it with that level of confidence.
Yeah.
Um, a couple of things that the first thing I would say that works for me is knowing what are my foundational practices. What are
Okay.
the things that I need to do regularly that help me feel healthy and whole and human?
Yeah.
And they have to be a priority. They have to get scheduled. I'm a big believer in my life, what gets scheduled gets done.
Yeah.
And so until they become so habitualized that I don't have to schedule them, I do believe in scheduling in the time for these things that are like, they're just personally important to you.
Mm.
Sleep, at the time that I was leaving my corporate career and moving into entrepreneurship, I don't think I had fully gotten the memo yet on sleep. And I mean, this was around the time that like Ariana Huffington was writing Thrive.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot kind of happening in personal development and pop culture about sleep. And I was like, all right, I'm willing to try it because I was a sleep when you're dead person,
No way.
until
I'm
then.
willing to try it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm willing to try sleep. We'll see
I
how
want
it
to
goes.
try
And
sleep.
I mean, when I say, if you have not gotten this memo yet, I mean, the transformational power of just
Yeah.
getting enough sleep. And I meet too many women still who have not gotten this memo, right? So sleep is one of my foundational practices of I just give myself that gift every night. Like every
So
night, it's a
good.
renewable gift.
Yeah.
I'm not a
For the
napper.
people listening to this show, they're probably laughing because I'm like,
You talk about this all
I'm
the time.
not a stickler for a lot of things. I am a stickler. Even my kids, I'm like, no.
Huge.
They're like, yeah, you're going to go
Well,
to
it's
bed
the
until
biggest gift we
my.
can give our kids, right? I mean, a
Yes.
well-rested child is a regulated child. There's
Come
just no
on.
question about it. So
Yep.
sleep is a big deal for me. Movement is a big deal. It's so habitualized. I do not even have to think about doing it. I have lots of things I like. Walking is a favorite. I walk probably every day. Like it's my number one nervous system regulation strategy, like for sure. I need time alone. I am an only child. I grew up with a lot of time alone, very unlike you. And that is really important to me. And so with 3 children and dogs and cats and a husband, like parents nearby, to have time where nobody needs me.
Yes.
And I can just be with me it does not need to be a long period of time. Sometimes it is just the drive, I don't know, across the neighborhood. Some period of time every day when I'm alone is a foundational practice. So that collection of practices and being pretty serious about upholding them even when things get crazy. So if we're in crisis or we have a chaotic period, I know how to take those down to like minimum viable dose. But protect for them so that I still have a dose. It doesn't go to 0, right?
Yep. So good.
That's one thing. Another system that I think has been hugely important is an integrated calendar, something that allows me to look at my work life and my home life in one place. And fight whatever battles you have to fight with the firewalls and the powers that be to make it happen. Because being able to see your whole life in one integrated place, I am a very visual processor. And if I can't see it like that, I can't imagine what it will be like to live it.
Yeah.
So that integrated calendar allows me to make decisions more rapidly and confidently about what's in and what's out because I really can see the pinch points. Okay. I can like curate the calendar based on that.
Yes.
And then an integrated to-do list, which is a step that people skip. So I think a lot of people don't even they've got sticky notes and yellow pads, and I have an integrated.
I'm like looking around my desk at all my sticky notes.
Integrated, prioritized to-do list, like a running to-do list that you're constantly prioritizing so that when you can open up space by eliminating a meeting, right, running that SOS I talked about, you know what's the next thing you're going to do.
Yeah.
And the efficiency in that, in not having to kind of waste time making decisions and task switch, huge. Yeah. Okay. So I could go on and on and on about some of the things that I think help, but like really at a foundational level, having those practices that happen no matter what at some level, having an integrated calendar that I use that SOS model and curate constantly, and having an integrated to-do list so I know what has to get done across my life. When I say integrated, I mean personal life,
everything,
and work life and everything. Right? From making the orthodontist appointment to planning the vacation to dealing with the tax payment, all of it in one place is so freeing because I'm one human moving through my day. Right? And so I'm able to pick things up. It doesn't matter how integrated they become. Like I'm able to pick them up in order.
That's so good. And I'm wondering, like I can picture myself doing all these things. And then I think of all the other humans that live in my home. The complexities that they add. So can you speak a little bit? I'm just even curious about like, I know you have 3 kids with your husband, there's pets, there's things that need to be done around the house, right? Like people need to eat and things need to be cleaned. Like how do you go about choosing the things that you're going to do, what you're going to delegate, and then like how you're going to actually involve everyone else who lives there.
So great. Yes. We're going to blow people's minds with the next sentence I say, I think, because it always does. So, and I love that you asked the question this way because it makes me think about how foundational this is to what I believe. I really started telling my children very young, like, here, let me take a step back. I think what I see women do a lot is end up in the paradigm of how can I get help? How can
Yeah.
people help me with all these tasks that are required to run this household? So we have
Mm.
to eat, and there's laundry, and it has to be cleaned, and whatever. We need groceries, all the things. And
Yep.
I somehow quickly got the idea of like, this is not my job.
Yeah.
Like, we all live here. There are 5
Yes,
people living in
that's
this house.
right.
It is our job to collectively run this household and
So
take
good.
care of it. And yes, the adults will have bigger jobs than the children. And John and I can have different jobs, but like the 5 of us collectively who live here have to figure out how to take care of these pets and these walls and the beds and all the things.
Yeah.
And that simple flip moved it from I'm asking for help to I'm orchestrating. I'm like the project manager. Okay. I don't mind being the project manager, back to masculine energy. It's fine. I like that job.
Yeah,
So
you're good
I
at
have
it.
no issue organizing the work
Yeah.
and keeping track of what needs to be done. And yes, that's work. I actually put it on the list and I go, guess who did the invisible load of figuring it all out? Me. I get credit for that.
Yeah.
Now I get less execution because I'm doing that part.
Wow, I
That
love
takes
that.
time, right?
Yeah. And bringing that to light. I think so often
Making
our
them see it.
partners or our kids don't even realize.
Making them see it. And you know, like they have to get the memo that like a household doesn't run itself.
That's right.
There are a lot of jobs. Eve Rodsky's work on this with Fair Play is like can really spell it out. But then, so like in this chapter of life, we had a housekeeper for a long time. And in this chapter of life, I don't have one because my kids are learning, right? They're like apprentices. And so we have a long, very detailed task list of what it takes to clean this beautiful home. And the jobs change every time we're going to do it, but I sit down with the spreadsheet that's like has filters and drop downs because I'm nerdy, and they have their task. And not only does it have the task, it has like, what does good look like?
Yeah.
Like if you're in charge of this particular task, this is what I mean. Like
What's
if I
the
were going to come
standard?
inspect it, you got to paint done. They have to know what good looks like.
Yeah.
And then at this stage, because we've done it enough, they just pick up their list and go. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a training part of this. There's a part of these systems where when you are early days putting it, somebody has to deconstruct the task.
Yeah.
They do have to be trained on if you're going to send your husband to the store, what brand do we buy? What size do we buy?
If you care, right? It's like, yeah.
You have to be able to like get it to a level that it's executable.
Yeah.
And sometimes teach what does this look like? And sometimes lower your own standard and learn it's fine. But I think that's another one of those like game changers is the paradigm shift that it's not my job and I'm asking for help. It's our job. You might not see the big picture the way I do. So I can assist on organizing the work, but then we're all going to have roles in doing it.
So good. And it's such an investment because I hear you even saying like my kids are 7 and 8 now, and I'm in that phase of like calling them back. Like I'll get out of this meeting and there's going to be like the empty yogurt container on the counter or whatever. And it's like calling that back down and being like, hey, let's talk about what happens, right? When we're done with our snack, whatever. And like so much teaching and grooming and reinforcing and your kids are older now, right? And you're like reaping the benefit of like having put the time in and put the reps in and having the
and they have different standards, Michelle. I mean, they will admit to this. I have 2 who you could do a magazine photo shoot in their rooms. Like that's how they live, which is my preference. And then I have one who prefers not to live that way. So like in her room, it's fine. That's a space that, episodically we're going to go in and kind of deal with it. But the notion of showing them the kitchen, my favorite hack is to take them to the kitchen and be like, it's clean, right? You have it your way. Let's look at this together. What do we notice? It's like you're playing one of those games, like what changed in the picture? And you're like, what do we notice? Look, there's no empty containers on the counters. There's no dishes in the sink. There's no stuff on the desk. So they're kind of aware of like, what does a clean kitchen look like? So good. And then when you walk in, like you're saying after this and you go in, you're like, what's different from what it's supposed to look like? And how do we get it back to that? It's a really powerful teaching exercise.
It really is. Yeah. So much in just awareness, right? And attention to detail. And really practically, how do you do this? Is this like a spreadsheet they have on their phones? Is this like a laminated thing that they like
for the task list on cleaning?
Yeah.
Specifically on cleaning, I have a Google sheet that I built and then I manipulate on the laptop. I actually print it so that it's on the counter and they cross stuff off. So I have an easy way to know, did it get done? And again, because we change it every time, I want to be able to like work. Sometimes I also go like, skip this one this week. It's fine, but I like can reassign the list. Yeah. It's a Google sheet that we print.
That's so brilliant. I love it. Okay. So good. I feel like I'm going to meditate on this conversation the rest of the afternoon because there's so much I want to like absorb and then put into practice. You are just a wealth of like, I think for all of us who are a few steps behind, I think like you've just lived it and experienced it and then found a framework and now you're teaching it. And I think there's so much wisdom in that. I know that you have a playbook for our audience. So can you tell them a little bit about that? We'll link it for you guys in the show notes and then where they can connect with you if they want to keep learning from you or if they're like, oh wow, I'm the woman that she teaches and I need to know these things. And for you guys who have either worked with me or want to work with me, I just feel like this is such an amazing 1-2 punch because it's like if you can get to a place, right, where you're learning how to regulate your nervous system and then on the really outwardly like manifesting practical side of it, the things that I can do that really help to support a life of both and
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you know, Cherylanne could be a great resource for you guys.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I think what listeners can get, we call it the momentum playbook. So it's really a diagnostic tool to help you figure out where you're stuck and how to get
Okay.
back into momentum. I'm a big believer in the idea of moving your life up and to the right. You know, most of us are like that. We want that chart where we're like, okay, that's the trend line I'm on. And often we'll get stuck because that's normal, right? Progress is not linear. We will have these loops that we get stuck in. And so if I can help you identify where you're stuck so that you can get back into momentum, it's actually almost always possible. And so
So
some of the
good.
things we've talked about today, like I'm stuck because I'm doing too many tasks on my own and I haven't learned how to get other people to do them because I'm leading, right? Or I'm stuck because I don't know how to say no, or I'm stuck because I do everything to the nth degree and I can't figure out how to take imperfect action. The momentum playbook will help kind of identify what are your patterns, and then what can you do to really start moving forward with a lot more momentum. So they can go to our website, which is brilliant-balance.com. And then this is just /momentum. I'm sure you'll link it for them so they can find it too. And that's a great starting place. You'll also then kind of be in the website so you can link out to any other things. We have a lot of free resources. The backlog of the podcast is there, the backlog of the blog to find their way to things.
Yeah. And check out the podcast while you're at it too, because you have like over 400 episodes.
We do. Yes. The Brilliant Balance
Amazing.
podcast. So it's linked again from the website or any place that you listen to podcasts, you can find it.
So good. Can't thank you enough. Just appreciate you making the time. Your energy, like just being around you. I feel like I just want to be a sponge and like soak it all in. So thanks for sharing so much with us. I'm sure everyone's leaving, one, feeling encouraged, but then two, like there's some nugget that they're taking that they can start, you know, to play around with and put into practice. So thanks again for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.